This is IA Forward, your playbook for success as an independent insurance agent. Now, here to help you knock it out of the ballpark are your hosts, Shane Tatum, Tanya Lead, Mike Basil, and Robbie Jabor.
Welcome to the IA Forward podcast. So excited to be starting our 301st episode. We were thrilled to celebrate on our last one, and it was not the final one, so that's good. So let's start with 301 and keep going.
Geez, it never ends, right? It just keeps going and going. It's like the mail. It's like the Seinfeld episode where Newman said the mail just keeps coming and coming. Well, that's what podcasts do, right? We just keep showing up and we keep doing what we do. So it's good stuff.
In this episode, we're going to talk about taking time off as an agency owner without losing momentum. And this is one of those things you're always being told, you got to take time off. But what does that look like when your name is on the door? And figuring out the difference between time off and abandoning responsibility.
I'm real interested to have this conversation because my background is a little different in that I come from small business tech and you're kind of always on. So I'm really interested to see where this goes.
Yeah, the insurance business isn't too far behind, the IT business, to Mike's point. And we got a little taste of that several years ago, and understanding the demands of always on and what that looks like. And in the insurance business, the reality of our time to shine and our time to be, fulfilling of the promise is the claims time. And that's what I always think about is like, okay, if you take time off as an agency owner, what does that look like? And what is the plan for that client that is just needing to be talked off the ledge a little bit, or needing to know that you haven't left them high and dry when something bad happens and just needs a little counsel? They may not actually need something to happen. They may just need reassurance that everything's going to be okay. But if you're unreachable, if you're, on hiatus, how does that make your client feel? And I'm interested to hear that perspective too from you guys, just kind of thinking about it, maybe, yes, from the agency side, but also from the consumer side.
Yeah, you definitely got to have a plan for that. I think about, and I'm not an agency owner, but I think about when I take time off, I'm still answering emails. I might take a call or two. Not sure that that's great, but it certainly doesn't bother me. But I'm also not running a business, and I'm also not dealing with the headache of the things surrounding running a business. It just seems like that there's got to be some shut off period from time to time to kind of reset and refocus.
But that's super difficult when you are an agency of one, right? And I think that's the part that maybe we would start here and maybe spend the most time on is, what do you do when it's just you?
Well, I've actually been thinking about a little bit of this, and I've been thinking about things over the last 6 months as I asked Tanya to get into this new role in agent development in the Southeast region. And so taking over some of the marketing directly, but also we haven't made a lot of like really knee-jerk changes to our marketing and stuff. The reason is because I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking through like, what do I want that to look like? And part of that is a lot of movement into, what would be called today founder-led marketing or CEO-led marketing, which isn't, it's not necessarily anything that we haven't done. It's just doing more of it or being a little more intentional personally, me. And so I think about that and I relate that to that solopreneur, that single agency owner. I've been in conferences and I've been in situations where I've actually done some things that I would have said not to do several, over the last few years. I've given out my cell phone to somebody, which would be like, oh my God, what are you doing? Like, there's a lot of agencies that are like, please don't do that. Don't ever do that. There's something about the personalization of the type of business that you want to end up with. Like, is it bad, right? Are people really going to text you at 2 a.m, right? And if they do, how are you going to handle that, right? Like, do you have to handle it the same way? Like, I just think about this in terms of how you do things. And I'm not advocating that everybody give out their cell phone number. I'm just saying I've done some things over the last few months as an agency owner, as an organization CEO, that maybe 5 years ago I would have been like, absolutely do not do that. Like, do not ever do that. So I think there's different maybe ways to think about this and how to go about, what you want the end result to look like. And I don't want to get stuck on cell phone or no cell phone. I just want to think about, like, how do you take time? How do you step away? And I think there's a lot of ways you can do that depending on where you want to end up with your business.
Shane, you are a master at being away, but still functioning as an owner. Why don't you share with some of our listeners how you do that?
Have a very forgiving spouse. That's number one. That would be the first thing. And I think the verdict on am I great at being away and not being away would maybe go to my family. I think there's things that they might disagree with me on that. Hey, I need to step away and have a call, or hey, I need to do this or not do that. I think one of the things that are the way I kind of look at this, I would rather be able to disconnect briefly, frequently. I don't know if that's a really good way to put that or if that makes sense, but I don't necessarily love the unplug and disappear, right? Like I would say for all of the work-life balance crowd and all of that's going on out there, I don't know how you do that. Like, I don't know how you disappear as a business owner. Like, I'm not an advocate of that. I don't disappear. But what I do is I block time out and I say, okay, I'm on vacation. And we have 2 primary vacation spots in our family. One is the beach in Florida. The other one is the cabins in Oklahoma. And in both of those scenarios, I work. And when I say work, that's a really loose term. I keep up with email. I maybe respond to something that I need to go ahead and respond to. That is less stressful for me than disconnecting for a week and then coming back to being behind for 2 or 3 weeks. Being behind for 2 or 3 weeks is really stressful. I hate that. Too many people depending on answers to something. I would rather do it in the flow of being gone. So, I know we can go down to, okay, how you set things up matters, how you train your people, how you set up your organization does matter in all of this. But I'm just more of, I'll work an hour here, 2 hours there. I'll shut down the rest of the day. I'll, go do things with my family. I'll be present. But that doesn't mean that you have to be present as a business owner in order to be a good family person, a good dad, a good mother. it doesn't mean that you have to just disconnect, unplug, and disappear from your business for weeks at a time. I'm not an advocate of that.
Yeah, I just don't see that even being plausible anymore, especially if you're a really small agency, but really in general. I mean, the bottom line is your perspective on your time off is important as well, right? Your mindset in everything you do is important. So I'm going on vacation. There's a 24-hour day in the vacation. If I take 15 minutes, 3 or 4 different times to check a few things, you're not ruining your vacation. Or you just have to look at things in totality. You know, like I had mentioned before, came from tech. There was never, not since my early 20s, when we didn't have supercomputers as our phones, did I have a vacation where I was completely disconnected. You're just always, you're just monitoring. That's more of what I would call it, as a monitoring. You'll check your emails every once in a while. Someone else is taking the important phone calls, but they need to get with you if it's something that's really important.
I think training your clients, which kind of goes in line with setting up things, right? Setting things up, I think is also really important in this arena that we're talking about. If you respond to that 2 a.m. thing, then they're going to do it again, right? If you respond to that 8 p.m. thing, then they're going to do it again. And keep in mind, I'm not advocating that that's what checking in or monitoring looks like. Like for me, it's a block of time. It's an hour. It's some period of time during a day. And it may not even be that day. Like it might be you skip a day, right? Like let's not get so black and white and structured around what it is that we're talking about here and say, well, you have to do it this way. Like how it works for you might be different than how it works for me. I just like being in touch with what's going on and knowing if, you know, there's the world's on fire, right? In the insurance business, that could be literal or it could be figurative, right? And so, you know, you kind of want to know that, right? And if you disappear, you don't want to come back and find out that one of your clients had a major fire loss, right? And oh, well, you know, we knew you were on vacation. We don't want to bother you. Like I am an information junkie. I like to know what's going on, even if I'm not going to do anything about it, right? I'll decide. As an agency owner, you can decide, do you need to do something? Do you not need to do something? Do you need to do a check-in phone call? Hey, man, I'm in Florida at the beach on vacation. I just heard about what's going on. Look, we're there. We're going to take care of this. Boom, 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 right? Done. That everybody's now relaxed at that point, right? The client's going through their mess. You've made it clear, but you didn't disconnect and disappear for a week. And then next thing you know, you're getting blasted on Facebook because the client hadn't heard from you, right? Like that's what you want to be careful. And when you are, you know, kind of selling yourself as a brand, as an agency owner, and you're the lead and you're the figurehead, you want to make sure that you protect that brand. And I think at least being in the know is important.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely like different stages, obviously, in your agency life. Some may have a staff that's trustworthy and they can take more time off maybe than a solopreneur can, but staying plugged in and, you know, having like we mentioned before, having the plan. So when you are out, there are ways customers can still get where they need to go as far as claims or whatnot. Just understanding what that looks like and implementing it.
Yeah.
I think there's also this idea of revenue anxiety when agency owners are struggling to take time off because if you're not producing, you're not earning, right? And there's this fear that something's going to break. And then there's also this guilt that you have that you're not serving your clients. You're not talking, you're not working with your carriers the way you need to. You've got family pulling on you. You've got all these things pulling on you at once. And going back to the book, The E-Myth, that's one of Shane's favorites and one of mine. If you can't step away for a little while, then you don't own a business. You want a job with overhead. And figuring out long term how you're going to be able to take that time off, I think really is important. Brian Poole at Lone Star Integra in Deer Park, Texas, is the master at this. I'm a junkie watching his social media channels because he has an extraordinary travel schedule. He travels with his children individually. He travels with his wife, and she makes specific time each day to check those emails, to do the things that he needs to do, but also travel the way he wants to because that's what he loves.
Well, look, here's something that people need to come to grips with too, is not all time off is the same, especially when you're starting out or you're a solopreneur. You need to take the time off with your family. Like, that is important time off. Time off to go golfing with your buddies, that's more of a luxury time off. You're going to have to make decisions like that up front, or when you're a very small agency. That's just the way the world works. Or you're going to have to be a little more intentional about checking things more often.
Yeah. Let me remove a myth maybe for some folks out there. If you're in your first couple of years starting an agency from scratch, like, it's okay. It's going to get better, right? Like, you probably haven't been able to take a whole lot of time or add some, other than just, get some sanity, right? Like, there's a grind that is just part of it. And, I want you to know that we've all been through that. We've all gone through that stage. There's light at the end of the tunnel. It's going to happen for you. So once we kind of get that piece off the table, we kind of get into the rest of us, right? Everybody else. I want to speak a little bit to this. Hey, buy our tool, use this, build this workflow, and create this environment where your business can run without you. I'm just not a big believer in that area. I mean, there's this big push that somebody's come out with a new shiny object. Somebody's come out with a new thing, the best thing in the world. It's going to save all your capacity. It's going to allow you to just, wake up in the morning and run this business without ever doing anything. Like, that is not real. Okay. It's just not real. Right. And I'm not an absolute kind of guy where it's like, don't listen to that. Like, I'm not going to tell you, like, don't listen to those people or don't listen to that thing, because there may be something that you can grasp or you can pick up from people putting out the next AI tool, or from people offering different services. I'm not saying it can't improve things. And I'm not saying that you want to run a business where you have to do everything either. But there's some balance here where I want you to be okay with the fact that this is a service business, right? And if you don't have the people, if you haven't reached the size and scope yet, well, yeah, you're going to be doing some things, and your time off is going to look a little different than the 50 employee agency where, the CEO has basically, for lack of a better term, like a presidential cabinet where they're very rarely making decisions, right? this is the comparison that I think we got to be careful of, right? When you're a 1 to 5 person agency, which by the way is like 85% of us, you're going to be involved, and your vacation time and your time off is going to look a little bit different than that 4th generation CEO.
I think there are 3 different types of time off too. There's strategic time off, and Shane, that's a lot of what you do when you go on your planned vacations, right? When you're going to Florida or you're going to the cabin in Oklahoma. Yes, those are vacations, but that's also the time that you're really focused and thinking about the agency. You're doing a lot of planning, and then you're taking some different, you're taking time off to spend with your family as well. And to me, strategic time off is really the goal of an agency owner. There's a maintenance time off that prevents burnout. You're not really solving any issues. You're not really figuring things out, but those are more like short breaks to reset. And then there's a time off that I don't take as much working for Integra, but that I did a lot of when I worked in the radio industry or in an advertising agency. And that was reactive time off. And it was just unplanned, it was, I have to get in my car and go. It is burnout driven. It is unplanned. It is because you're so incredibly stressed. You have to do something or your head's going to explode, right? And so those are 3 different types of time off that exist. And there's a reason for all 3 types of them.
Yeah, I think that's great, categorized very well, the way you put that. I realized something in my planning at the end of last year that I have a goal this year to do. And I have never taken a day off. This is bad. I've been at this 30 years. I've never taken a day off and stayed home.
I don't think I have either.
I don't know if anybody does that, but I've never in 30 years taken a vacation day, stayed home, and I was always going somewhere. My vacation days, my time out of the office was because I was going somewhere. And I had a suggestion or heard a suggestion that I would call this in the maintenance category, Tanya, like just thinking about the maintenance category a little bit differently. Take that day off, right? That random Wednesday or it can be Friday if you want the long weekend or Monday if you want the long weekend. But like not taking the day off because you're going somewhere, right? Just take the day off, right? Just one day. It doesn't have to be the week. I think this is where you can avoid that third option, the burnout reactionary situation that, I hope nobody gets to working at Integra, and I hope that doesn't happen to people here, and I'm sure it does. But my goal, from a leadership standpoint would be that it never happened. But that can be something that I'm not really sure that society is set up to do this very well, right? Because of just the way society is set up. But especially if you have kids at home, like, school-age children, where you can take that maintenance day when your kids are at school, right? So you can actually just be off without the kids being home. That's just an idea there as well. And then the other thing that's very, very vivid at my time of life right now, that's kind of like once you get past that 3-4 year mark as an agency owner, is not thinking about retirement as this end game, but thinking about travel and time off as you go, right? Thinking about because here's the deal. Everybody says, when I retire, I'm going to do X. And then when they reach retirement, they physically can't afford to do X, or they had a health issue, or the spouse had a health issue, or, as some of us know, they had an aging parent that had a health issue or whatever, right? And it's like, I can't do that. And I wanted to do that. And I've spent my whole life working towards this end point, and now I can't do it. And so I encourage people, as well as myself, because I'm trying to do more of this, to do more now or as you go, so that you don't look back and go, man, I was one of those I'm going to people. Instead, I did this. I went there. I saw this place. And so that's just something that resonates here. You start an insurance business, you start in the agency business, specifically the independent agency business, because you want more freedom. And then, to Tanya's point, you don't give yourself permission, and you shackle yourself to the business and the office, and you don't go anywhere and you don't do anything. And so, I think that's the thing we've got to rethink as business owners around this topic.
I think that what you were talking about there, I think the kids are calling that mental health days.
Of course they are.
Yeah, I had a fabulous sales manager in Shreveport, Louisiana, who would look at us if we were getting stressed, and she would call us in her office and she would say, Tanya, just take tomorrow and go feed the ducks. And what that meant was that there was actually a duck pond in Shreveport, and she was just saying, like, take that mental health day, take the day off, go and do, or take the afternoon off. And she recognized that and would very strongly call her salespeople out and say, you need this. The radio business, the media business is a little bit different from the insurance business, and then it's not an 8 to 5 or 7 to 7 position. It's a very much 24-hour a day business. But, having a leader that would recognize when you were just about to jump over the edge and say, hey, look, just go feed the ducks for the day. And that was amazing. And I had never had a leader that did that before. And it taught me to do that with my team members. And so that may be you figuring out as a leader, okay, these are the things I need to do, but I also need to let my people take the time that they need as well. And creating an environment for your people that they're not scared to take a vacation day or 2 or a week, that their jobs are safe when they come back, because in so many instances, people are afraid to take their vacation time.
I think another thing to piggyback off of that, and this works from both angles, the people who need to take that time and the people who are seeing their people needing that time, is, that happens more than a couple of times. You need to do some evaluation of what is happening. If you're in a leadership role, why are people needing this time away? What is causing that? And if you are in the position of needing that, you need to figure out, what are those triggers? Is this really still the right environment for me? Is this the right job for me if this is constantly happening?
Really good point. Shane, let me ask you a question. Since Integra Partner Network works with a lot of startup agents, and as we all know, it takes a good 2 to 3 years to really kind of build your book and get to a revenue standpoint that you're comfortable with, maybe exceed your expectations, whatnot. So for those 2 to 3 years of solopreneur agencies, I know a lot of the stuff that we've talked about already in this podcast applies, but how do you get that person to be able to take time off and get away from the agency when they don't have a staff or a service center to send clients to? How can they do the same and take that reset time?
So I think there's a couple of things. One, a day or two is not going to destroy your business. I think that's permission number one. That being in this mindset that if you don't answer every call that's ringing, that you're somehow going to lose
Lose an
everything,
opportunity.
right?
Yeah.
You know, I think that's a myth. That's not true. I like something that Tanya said on a podcast a couple of years ago, I think, when it came up. It's embrace that, right? Like your customers are buying from you because of what a mentor of mine calls BLT, believe, like, and trust. They believe you, they like you, they trust you. They're buying from you. You're the brand. So tell them that in your auto reply. Tell them that this is Tanya's idea. I'm stealing here. Give her full credit. Tell her in the auto reply on the email, change your voicemail to say, hey, with my family, taking a couple of days, I am going to be looking at email, send an email here. It may be later in the evening, but in an emergency, please contact the claim. If it's a claims emergency, please contact your insurance company, directly and file your claim, and I'll be following up with you. Just, think about embracing that solopreneur environment and leveraging it, right? I know like security and claims people say, don't post that you've left home, right? I know there's like a whole thing there about posting, but one of the positives is the people that you insure see you with your family somewhere and they're like, yeah, I'll get with them when they get back from vacation next week. Like people are not like the evil wicked witch of the West, right? Or East or whatever the analogy there is. Like people are going to understand. They have families too. If you're writing family insurance, right? If you're writing commercial insurance, you're now peer to peer with another business owner, like they get it. So I think embracing that, especially in that first couple of years, is really important and a really good way to give yourself permission. Just let it be there, right? Just put it out there to your clients. One step further is to tell them, like, we put a sign on the door, or we send out a notice that we're going to be closed for such and such holiday. Okay. Hey guys, I'm going to be closed for a couple of days, headed down here, wherever, to the beach. Just want to let y'all know if you have an emergency, whatever. Right. We have a barbecue place across the street from us here in Huntington. Wonderful. Papa's Pit Barbecue. Come to East Texas and eat barbecue. It's awesome. They put a sign up. They close every Memorial Day week. They close, like they shut down for a week, and they survive. As a matter of fact, people are dying for them to get back open, and they have a really, really busy week after they open back up because people missed it. And they let people know. They put it on Facebook. We're going to be closing a couple of weeks in advance. They post it on the windows of the restaurant. Like, I just think we've moved in a society to this world where that gets appreciated. And so I think embrace it is a big part of that.
A lot of times, if you will put that in your emails ahead of time and even ask questions like, hey, I'm going to be headed to New Orleans for 4 days. What are your favorite restaurants? What are the things that I should do? Then people actually get involved and they get excited for you. And when you get back, they're following up and saying, hey, how did your kid do at the cheer competition? How were they at baseball? Or did you have a chance to eat at this restaurant? That's one of the things that makes you unique. That's what makes you different than the call center and getting a different person every time they call in.
Yeah, I guess we forget that people can relate, right? Like they do the same thing and they don't expect you not to. I think that makes a lot of sense.
I think so many agents spend so much energy trying to look like the corporate agency, like as if that is the advantage. And I think it's the direct opposite of that. That's what makes you different from the exclusive agency system, where those agents can't. Like, I mean, they can't do that, right? They gotta staff a certain amount of people. They've got to be open a certain time each day. They can't close until this time. I mean, there are corporate top-down requirements to run certain exclusive agencies across the country, right? You don't want to be like that. Like, the whole point is to be what you are and stop trying to be what that corporate look feels like, or even that multi-generational independent agency that is just, 30, 40 employees. Like, we spend so much energy in the small to mid-size agency segment trying to look like the big guy when we really need to embrace being the small guy. Like, the small guy is our advantage. Like that, like big is the new small, or small is the new big. I got that backwards. Sorry there. Small is the new big. That's a Seth Godin book, right? Like, there's a whole thing here that I get pumped about. This is kind of in that practitioner arena. I think it's huge. Like, I think there's so much to being that local practitioner, and you can embrace this lifestyle, and you can be with your family when you need to be with your family, and you can be really, really successful. I mean, really financially successful and flexible at the same time. And there's just so many angles that this thing can be played. And I think the wrong angle is to try to be like the big guy. I think that's the wrong angle.
And it's so much easier. It's so much easier to just be who you are and not try to hide and look bigger than you are. You're trying to keep track of all these things you're doing to make yourself look like you're this big company. Just be who you are.
Yeah.
Another thing to think about is, if everything is urgent, then nothing is urgent, right? So before you go on vacation, decide what truly warrants interruption. Like, these are the things that I'm going to interrupt my vacation, or these are the things that I can take care of tomorrow or when I get back. And that's going to make such a huge difference. That time off too is going to show you your systems that don't work. It's going to show you where bottlenecks are, and it really gives you some opportunity to strengthen some processes too. And it shows you what's fragile and what's not within your agency.
We had a recent failure holiday. The phone system didn't do what it was supposed to do, so people were calling in all day. It sucks. Like, it's frustrating that happened, right? But it didn't bankrupt our business. Like, and we have 43 employees and a lot going on, right? Like, we're on that big end of the scale, right? And so if you are that agency segment that we're talking about here, just understand that there's this fear of getting canceled is the wrong thing, but just this fear that somehow your customer base is going to leave you because you didn't emergency everything. Like, that is a myth. Like, that is not real, and you are doing that to yourself. The other thing that Tanya, I think, is touching on here too, and it is really hard because we're all salespeople when we're talking about this segment, right? We're all salespeople, and what we're not when we're salespeople is super organized. And when we're not super organized, we're not really good planners. This is the challenge to you. You got to get ahead of this thing, right? Like, you got to plan for your vacation. You can't just work. I got to get this done. I got to get this done before I leave. Get everything done. Take a inhale, take a deep breath, go on vacation, and then the sky starts falling. Well, the sky is starting to fall because you didn't prepare for anything. Like you didn't plan to be gone. You didn't do the autoresponder correctly. You didn't set up your voicemail. You didn't send out notices. All of this is planning stuff that if you just kind of back up 2 weeks, maybe give yourself 2-week buffer to give yourself an hour to set all this stuff up, it will serve you extremely well when you do leave, when you are gone and out of the office.
There's a reason why people check their parachute twice before they jump out of a plane.
That's good. That's right. That's right. And pack their own chute or something like that. Isn't that a deal? Yeah.
Maybe that should be our next leadership team exercise, Shane. What do you think?
Pack your own chute. Nobody's packing your chute for you.
Shane, from a physical, logical perspective, like how do you actively do this? Because you travel a lot, you follow the University of Kansas softball team around the country for weeks at a time. We've talked about this from a mental perspective. What about from a physical perspective?
So number one, to remove the myth, there's no superpower and it terrifies me. All right. So let me just be public about that. It's right now I'm stressed because I know that I've got some travel coming up and I know I need to get some work done. It does make me move into overdrive a little bit and get some things done. Physically, it's, it's looking at the calendar in a way that I'm not used to looking at the calendar. It's working on myself first is the physical thing that has to be done. Like I know I have to get better at planning and I have to get better at calendaring and I have to be more realistic. And that sounds funny from probably these guys on the podcast with me because I am a realist by nature. Like I will say, oh, that's not going to work. Or, oh, come on. You think you're going to do that, but you're never going to get that done. Like I'm a pretty good realist and yet I fail sometimes and pack too much stuff into my calendar. Like sometimes you just gotta be honest. I can't get to you today. But if I schedule you 2 days down the road next week, because maybe it's not the most highest priority in the world and I got to push you out a week. I mean, people do that to me all the time. Like they can't physically get to me. I think as salespeople, we look at the opportunity through such a lens that like, if we don't get to that person 5 minutes from now, we're going to lose that opportunity. And the only opportunity you're going to lose is the really bad client that procrastinated themselves or has been told by their current agent they can't help them and they waited till the last minute. And that's a really bad client for you. That's just the reality of this. And so everyone else has time. The people that you want to do business with, they're actually pretty organized and they have time. And so I think it's just giving yourself permission and developing yourself to physically not overcommit yourself, right? Like that's a huge part of being able to step away is when you're overcommitted, you can't do anything and you're not doing it well when you're in the office. And so you kind of have to take a step back and go, okay, why is this a struggle for me? Like, why am I struggling to be gone a week? Even though I'm going to work remotely, why can't I do this well? And more times than not, you scheduled a video call while you were driving to the airport. That's me. And you're like, why did I do this? Like, why? I'm better than this. And then you get frustrated. And at some point you just learn through failing that you got to do a better job. And you just, okay, guys, we got to do this differently. And I think we think we're better, we're more superhuman somehow than we are. And the reality is there's only so much time in the day and we're only physically capable of doing so much.
Working in a hotel room can be a challenge. I do want to encourage you, if you are doing that, buy the internet upgrade. It's worth the $9 a day. Usually that internet is so much faster and you're able to do things much closer to a speed that you would be able to do them in the office. Also, if you're traveling with a spouse and you're both planning on working part of the day at the hotel and part of the day you're going out and vacationing, make sure that your schedules match up and that you're not on video calls at the same time, or that you do kind of what the cute boy and I do. And he would rather not be in the rooms. He would rather go and work in the business center. And that way he's totally separate from his vacation place. And then I'll usually set up at a desk there in the room. And usually we go ahead and upgrade to a junior suite or a room that has a separate office living space. And that way, that space is totally separate from where we're sleeping, where we're enjoying our vacation. But figure out how to separate the spaces. And it's amazing how that will make a difference.
So this is going to sound a little pompous, but, and I understand there's cost to this. Something I've learned over the last couple of years as I've done this travel, work remote stuff is if there's a suite, get the suite, pay the extra money, right? Now, I'm not suggesting the presidential suite, right? This is
right. It sounds pompous.
I know. I knew it would. This isn't the $1,000. Yeah, this isn't the $1,000 a night stuff, right? I'm talking about, the place where they sell sweets, but it's really not like sweet like you think. Do that. Or this is what we're doing this year. Do an Airbnb, and when you look at the photos, look at the spaces that they're showing you. Is there a good kitchen table? Is there a desk in the bedroom? Like, you'll be surprised what you can find with an Airbnb situation. Our cost for Airbnb was actually cheaper than a hotel. We're doing that. We're going to be gone 11 days, and we're going to be in Florida watching Jayhawk softball. We're going to be, anybody that's had kids in sports, ton of downtime, right? Like there's whole days where they're not playing, but we're there. We're going to be working all day. I'm going to be podcasting from there more than likely at some point. And so, getting that space, to Tanya's point, and thinking about, is your spouse working remote too, splitting that up. There's a lot of options today. And since we now have this technology, we don't really have an excuse to not step away, because we can work while we're stepping away. Like there's just no reason that we can't do this in our world today in the insurance agency business. It should be one of the most attractive things about our business is the ability to do this.
And just to tie a bow around what Shane had previously talked about, keeping that calendar up to date, you've got your follow-ups and your management system. You can probably get out in front of, 3/4 of your work.
Absolutely.
Before you even go, and then either get it done beforehand or have a conversation with those people and push it off till after. And you're just not missing that much.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave us today with this quote from Pat Riley. Excellence is the gradual result of always striving to do better.
Attitude to choice. Make a great one.
Bye, y'all.
At the Integra Partner Network, we understand that carrier access is the key to your agency's success. That's why Integra offers direct access to top-rated personal and commercial carriers, ensuring your agency thrives in today's challenging market. And with our comprehensive resources, profit sharing and bonus opportunities, technology and peer support, all while you retain 100% of your book with no penalties to exit. Integra is ready to empower you and your agency to find sustained growth. Find your way to Integra. Visit IntegraPartnerNetwork.com today. That's IntegraPartnerNetwork.com.